All right, we are live. Welcome back to the Ubuntu Show number 2. I have my two friends here. We have Dan from the USA and Matthias from Sweden. Welcome, both of you. These shows are made possible by you. If you would like to sponsor a live event like this or something in the future, you can contact me at totalOSToday1@gmail.com. You can find me on Patreon. Just search TOS Today, TOS Today. You can PayPal me, or you can send me a nice box of imported Italian cannolis. Hey. And you can also find me on MeWe, the Facebook alternative, which is pretty nice. They seem to value your privacy. Check it out. That is MeWe.com/join/Total OS Today. I just jumped on a few days ago. We got about 20 people in the community. Simple to use, so check out MeWe.com. All right. So for this show, for the Ubuntu Show number 2, basically the purpose of this show that I started last year, we talked about having an alternative, an affordable alternative as a choice, an alternative to the Windows 10 desktop. That's not $2,000 like a Mac, for mom and pops. So we thought, why not Ubuntu? They got the resources, they got the talent, they got a great operating system, and maybe they can pull it off. So we're going to talk about the possibilities, or the possibility of Ubuntu becoming a national or a global standard Linux desktop for the masses, for normal people like us. Well, I'm normal. I don't know about these guys. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Hi, Paul. Welcome.
Hi.
All right. So today we're going to talk about the history, and if other people join in, we'll just keep on moving here. So this is about the history of Canonical, which owns Ubuntu, and we'll start in 2004. So here we go. All right. So 2004, we had the first Ubuntu released by Canonical. It was called Warty Warthog. It's funded by Mark Shuttleworth. I believe he's an entrepreneur, millionaire from Africa, South Africa. The goal of creating Ubuntu was to look at the possibility of creating a user-friendly Linux desktop for the masses. In 2006, we had the first LTS release of Ubuntu, a long-term support, Ubuntu 6.06, I believe. Now this was important because it was an LTS, and support is up to 5 years. I think with the new one, they'll give you 5 years free support and 10 years extended paid support, which is fair. All right, so in 2010, someone named Jane Silber assumed the CEO of Canonical, taking over for Mark Shuttleworth. In 2010, also, we had the release of the controversial Unity desktop, replacing the GNOME desktop or GNOME desktop. I have to tell you, as a Windows user, I found the controversy somewhat funny in a way. In 2011, we have the official launch of what Ubuntu called the Convergence Initiative. The goal was for Ubuntu to power everything: tablets, phones, TVs, smart screens, smart toilets, your car, the microwave, who knows. Connecting those cleanly and seamlessly to the desktop, the server, and the cloud. It didn't quite work out. In 2019, Ubuntu had a crowdfunding project tried to launch the Ubuntu phone. I think it was called the Edge, the Ubuntu Edge. Anyway, they raised more than $10 million, I believe, and it wasn't enough. In 2015, we had the first Ubuntu phone, which I don't get it. If 10 million wasn't enough to get it started properly, then why have it? Anyway, that was in 2015. The Ubuntu phone, I guess, came and went. I don't know if it's even being supported anymore. All right, so in 2017, Canonical says bye-bye to Convergence. That was the end, so forget about it. Also that year, in 2017, not that long ago, they abandoned the Unity desktop for GNOME 3. Not everybody's favorite desktop. The focus for Canonical was to be and will be on desktops, servers, the cloud, and IoT. And finally, in 2019, Total OS Today loses his mind who thinks that Ubuntu can become a national or global Linux desktop. Or maybe I know best. What do you guys think?
I think Ubuntu is a very fabulous desktop and operating system. I think it has a good chance of doing what it needs to be doing. They need to make it more kind of like Windows, but not Windows, where it will work on multiple desktops and laptops, and that area is what I'm trying to imply. Not that it has to be Windows, but it has to work that way. As far as that, I think more of the hardware suppliers need to cough up some drivers to work with it.
Okay, fair
But
enough. Yep.
to lock it down and say this is an Ubuntu laptop and you only can buy this by this company and everything else is just another company that's going to be like Apple. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be hardware based with Ubuntu on it.
I think the first Ubuntu desktop, but let's call it a desktop instead of a laptop for now. I think at the very least that they need to lock down quality. No
Yes.
bugs out of the box, because if someone takes it home and there's bugs with this or bugs with drivers, you know what? Forget about it. It's over, because as I say, you'll never get a second chance to make a good first impression. Now it can be done. Linux can be a bug-free standard. Look at Chromebooks. The Pixelbook has been described as flawless. When was the last time any Linux machine was called flawless? I can't think of one. I'm not asking for much. One, except the Pixelbook. So it can be done. So they need to lock down quality. Matt, what do you think?
There is no flawless Windows
No, there isn't.
desktop either, so I don't know if that's a problem. And the support for hardware, both new and old, in my opinion, is rather good. I don't know what doesn't work, and most people today use the browser for the most. And you have Firefox and you have Google Chrome. So the operating system that it's beneath that doesn't really matter, and it don't have to look like Windows either. Most people manage to use Mac OS without problem. It's
Yeah.
And it's not hard to be more intuitive in the OS in the desktop than the Microsoft is. They have a very low bar for what's good enough.
I think Windows 7 was about as close to a flawless Windows system as I ever used. I know nothing's perfect.
I agree.
But Windows 7, to me, I don't recall a single blue screen. Everything worked. It didn't feel as bloated as Windows 10. That's how I describe flawless. Now, I know perfection probably doesn't exist, but as close to flawless, I think it's possible because Microsoft pulled it off with Windows 7, in my opinion. Paul, what do you think?
Well, I think that it doesn't. I agree with Matt. It doesn't have to look like Windows, because you're going to get a lot of people that are going to say, "Well, why should I change if I'm just going from Windows to another Windows?" It just, the driver issue is an issue. Even I have issues with drivers with this laptop I'm using right now. I cannot get NVIDIA drivers to work on this laptop. I having trouble getting my scanner to work. The printer works fine, but the scanner part doesn't work.
Those are headaches where, people like me who have some experience with Linux after 13 years now, wow, have distro hopped from bug to bug to bugs, can sometimes fix things, will do it. The mom and pop who's busy, with life, kids, they don't have time for that.
No.
And it's a fair statement. That's why the first Linux desktop standard has to work pre-tested before it gets shipped out of the box. Okay, it has to work the way they want it to, meaning they want to hook up their printer It works. You're good to go. Now, it could say something on the box. This desktop has been pre-tested with HP printers or, Canon. If you choose other ones, it may or may not work. Just be transparent to the customer up front so they know what they are buying. A Linux machine can be built, pre-tested, and shipped and sold without any of those issues. Look at the Chromebooks. I don't think they're selling pretty good because they're full of bugs. At least I don't think so. I don't have one yet.
Me neither.
I mean, if I want bugs, I'll just download them off the internet, right? But no. So, so Linux can become a standard. Look at the Android phones. 1 billion plus Android phones. That's a lot of freaking phones.
Well, to your original statement, saying that Ubuntu's got to be bugged free, I can tell you, and I've noticed that they are working on it. When I first installed this distro of 1804 Ubuntu Mate, I used to every now and then get a box that popped up that said Ubuntu encountered an error. Then it asked me if I wanted to send a bug report or not. So I'm like, okay, what do I got to lose? I send the bug reports. Well, as time went on, these things disappeared. And as I installed the updates, the bugs started to drift away. So they are working on it if you work with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
transparency to the customer.
So I do think that they are working on it. If you get a bug report or bug encounter and you send a report and they look at all these reports and, hey, we got like 10,000 of these bug reports. They're all the same. I wonder what area is affected. And then they'll fix it and put it in their update.
I think if you explain the customer the proliferation of the Linux community, of the Ubuntu community, especially here on YouTube, on social media, the passion for Linux in general, they'll probably won't know about the history of Linux. They may be surprised. I think it's definitely a positive. I use Ubuntu Mate as my daily driver. I have Ubuntu in my test machine with a few modifications, some extensions to make it more user-friendly. I use Linux Mint. Those are all Ubuntu based. I think if customers, part of the selling process, letting them know the history of Ubuntu, which Ubuntu means humanity towards others. In fact, the Ubuntu symbol, have you seen that circle? Do you know what that is? It's three people holding hands, like in a circle. Wonderful. A customer, mom and pop ain't going to know that. But again, that's to add to the marketing of the Ubuntu desktop, But you're right. Companies like Ubuntu have done pretty good, it seems, in fixing bugs as quickly as possible. I think Ubuntu with the GNOME desktop will get better, supposedly. What I read, the next release of GNOME, I forget 3.32, is supposed to be much faster or less of a resource hog. That is wonderful, because that's one of the drawbacks now, is extensions that break and it uses up 1.3 gigs at idle of RAM. That's a lot. I mean, I know modern machines can handle it, but right now Ubuntu takes 4 gigs to run comfortably, 4 gigs of RAM. Well, that's the same as Windows 10. So it needs to be a little bit streamlined. But if you take 2 machines, a Windows 10 and Ubuntu machine, and show them back to back, let's update Windows 10. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, now you can go paint your house and come back tomorrow. Let's update Ubuntu. Done. Any questions? You show them that.
Totally.
That's a selling point. And how much is that machine? Only $400? That's all. That's all. Now, it's not a gaming machine. It'll do some games, just to let you know. It's a starter machine. It has 4 gigs of RAM, this and that, whatever. Oh, okay. And how long does it take to update? Well, you try it. Here, grab my mouse.
I'm using a bunch
touchy-feely.
On your word only. Since you were using it and you said it was rock solid, I gave it a go, and it's been on my machine ever since.
Well,
and
that's the thing.
You're right. For me, it's rock solid, too.
There you go. I would have my machine, like say I was selling it. Well, here's my machine. Get and play with it. Oh, what if I break it? Oh, go ahead. Don't worry about it. But, I mean, what are they going to break? Really, Go ahead.
I mean, it works with everything right down to the printer and the scanner and the fax machine. It's all in one.
Yeah. A machine that's pre-tested, $400 is the sweet spot. Talk about the history of it. Let them touchy-feel it. Give them the 30-day money-back guarantee. Look, as long as it takes and the multiple reboots with Windows 10, they're not going to bring it back unless there's a problem with it.
Yeah.
Unless it's defective, and that's possible, you know.
You got to remember one thing. There is plenty of hardware that is no longer supported on Windows either. You have a lot of printers and all-in-ones that became obsolete because they changed from Windows 7 to Windows 8 or Windows 8 to Windows 10. There is no new drivers for them. And you have to recycle them and get the new one if you want it to work.
Yeah.
So say that everything must work with Ubuntu or Linux. It's maybe a little far-fetched to say. If we are going to compete with Windows, we can at least start at equal terms and say, okay, the most common things and mainstream brands should work. And I would almost guarantee that it does work. And you have Dell that sells Ubuntu the laptops. You have System 76, and there are several others, but they're not cheap machines. They are $800, $1,000, and if, as you mentioned, a computer for $400 or $300. If you have Ubuntu or you have Windows, you can't game on it anyway. It's not the purpose. And that you have to make clear. Okay, you have this price range, and this price range, you can do this. And that's equal Windows or Mac. There is no cheap Macs, but yeah, and so on. If you want a game, you need to step up the game. You maybe have an entry level of $600. It's reasonable to get a system that works. And the work that Valve is doing, and you have Proton. There are more and more games that run out of box seamlessly. You can play World of Warcraft. You can play Fortnite, I think. I don't play it myself, but there is very lots of applications and games that works. And the support is getting better by the day.
Somebody mentioned if a customer buys the Ubuntu desktop, have it start up with the startup video. It'll start off, say, with 30 seconds of the history.
That would be great.
Just 30 seconds, minute tops. Go into, okay, this is what Ubuntu is. This is what it can or cannot do. This is how you update. This is how you use it. 3 minutes tops.
How you get help.
Right, how you get help. Free support for a year or whatever, and so on and so forth.
Linux have that options. When you start it, you have a welcome screen, and it explains everything. There are some boxes you can check. Do you want this function or not, and so on. Do you want it to look like this or look like this? You press here for updates and so on.
Transparency up front. I think also on that welcome screen, you might have something like, okay, this is this has been pre-tested with these printers. Download the drivers, boom. This will do these kind of low-intensity games. Maybe have it on there if they have the kids. If they want a higher, more powerful machine, you can say, well, Ubuntu's working on it, or something like that. You got to give the customer the basic, no BS information up front, because you don't want them to return it unless it's defective. It can happen, But you want them to be happy out of the gate. First time, because if they take it home and everything works the way we said it does, what do you think is going to happen? The person's going to call their neighbor on the phone, go to Facebook, go to MeWe, go to YouTube, tell their neighbor at the coffee shop, at Star. The word spreads, right?
Yeah.
And there you go. Free word of mouth,
Yeah, but I don't think we should expect a machine that will work with, flawlessly with all hardware. Because if you try to support too much old hardware, then you're just introducing bugs into the system. The kernel is going to be so large that
I think 5 years back is a good time spread, and after that, forget it.
Yeah, Right, and that could be on the video too. This machine will be supported for 5 years. After that, it'll probably continue to run, but just bear in mind, this will be supported 5 years, guaranteed to work the way it should. And maybe have something. Okay, maybe 5 years from now you may have to upgrade the RAM or something, install a graphics card. Again, you have to be transparent up front.
I was watching a Joe Collins video yesterday, and like Linux Mint 17.3, Ubuntu 14.04, they're all ending support now, and apparently the repositories won't be updated anymore, so you won't even be able to update software anymore that's on your machine. So is that going to be a problem?
Well, again, if you tell the customer 5 days after that, we don't know. Again, just be honest up front. I got a feeling that if it was to be, I have a feeling that Canonical will have something in place for that question. I got a feeling that they would. Or they can say, look, we won't support it after 5 years, but if you want to download another version of Linux at your own risk, as it were, feel free, because the warranty would have expired anyway. So it won't matter.
They make it quite easy to upgrade, distant upgrade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got a feeling that won't be an issue that much for a machine that's been pre-tested.
It's not a bigger problem than Microsoft have their updates, October updates, that are more or less new OS.
Well, aren't Mac machines past 3 years? You may have a problem, right? 5 years tops. If you update the OS, it may not run.
Yeah, you spend $3,000 on a decent Apple desktop. Yeah. That's $1,000 a year, and it's done.
Let's say that's the standard in the industry. After 5 years, you don't know like the machine will work. Would you rather spend $400 or $3,000 and complain about it?
Right.
Let's be honest here. Which one?
It's buying a new one every few years.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. So if you spend $400 in 5 years, you need to buy a new machine. Well, that's okay. It was only $400.
Right.
It was less than like $100 a year. Say you were renting it,
I went from MacBook Pros to back to a normal PC and Linux in 2012 because of the cost to continue to have a MacBook that worked. They have their fair shares of hardware bugs, and I have some machines that broke after the warranty period ended, and it was not feasible to repair. So you have to buy a new, or as I did the last time I bought a Mac, I bought a second-hand refurbished from a store, but it's still $800.
Yes.
So it's much money. So
I think the Ubuntu desktop should be easy to upgrade. Yeah, Matthias.
I choose to jump ship and went back to a desktop, and I have been on Linux ever since. I only have to use Windows at work, and that's because there are some applications that are proprietary, but they are updating them now, so they are web-based. So from this fall, I could use a Linux machine, or I can use a MacBook. I can use a Chromebook for that matter. I can do my work with that software that I'm required to use. So more and more application is getting what can you say, uni-platform.
Always trust Swedish testers. They know better. Well, we're just about to wrap this up. So my final thoughts, well, you know where my thoughts are. It's time. It's time we have something a desktop that is more fun to use, doesn't require 5 reboots to update the system. Some simple, affordable for the masses, as a choice. At the very least, simply as a choice. So that's my final thoughts. Dan, what's your final thought?
I'll let you in on a secret that's not so much a secret. I put Yeah, I put the Ubuntu Mate in this machine, and for the past 2 months, I haven't even powered it down. I've suspended it by using the suspend function and come back the next day and hit the power button on the PC, and poof, everything's where I left it. And I've, when I'm done for the day, I save everything in case something happens, so I don't lose any data. But I've never actually, in 2 months, cycled the machine for a full reboot.
And you didn't have to spend $3,000 either, did you?
No. Now, Windows 7 would do that too. Windows 10, I won't sign the EULA for it, so I can't tell you. But I've been really happy with the Ubuntu Mate version, and I don't see myself going anywhere else soon.
Awesome. Paul, last word.
Well, I'm using Arco Linux on my desktop. And I've had, I know, I see that.
I love the name Arco. Like, isn't it like an oil company? Hey, it's a slick OS.
But again, the machine stayed on for months, and it updates. Yeah. I've never had any issues. Everything just works on it. Unlike Windows, where every time I would go to do some work, it would try to restart on me, or my screen would go blank because it was doing something in the background.
It's Windows 10 is the technology is great. I mean, it works. On multiple machines, it does work, but they made it so bloated. It feels. It's not fun. Windows 7 was fun. It truly was. Windows 8 was an experiment. Okay, we'll let that slide. But really? Windows 10 Microsoft, really? I had to do 4 reboots, 5 reboots to update all the... Come on, man. I sound like the guy on SportsCenter. Come on, man, but...
Yeah, it's like I'd get on my laptop once a week, and I couldn't do anything because it was, we'd be doing updates.
Right.
So...
I hear you, man. Well,
so
you know what? It's you and millions of other potential customers for Ubuntu who think the same way.
Yep.
Matthias, final thoughts.
You have brand recognition, and people buy what they know and what they have been taught to use, and as you mentioned, what your neighbor use or what your kids use. People are used to Windows is on everything, but it's starting to change. As you mentioned, you have Chromebooks. People are more accustomed to changing between Mac OS or iOS and Android, and that is helping the transition to you be able to use another operating system, regardless of who's making it, if it's proprietary or it is Linux and open. So I think that the market for operating system is going to be much more diverse over the course of just this year.
Well, you know what? I think Canonical should just do it. It's time. I think the market's ripe,
Yeah, you got to go for it. If you want to nationally, you got to go. Now's the time. What's so sad about it, though, I say that, and it's kind of unstable with 18.04, so they need to really get on that and get it more stable so people can use it long term and not have
I know, Mark, you joined in late. We had talked about that. We're talking about a pre-built, pre-tested machine out of the box. That should not be a problem, right? Not something that you download. That's not what this discussion is about.
Well, there's got to be some better vetting of the package.
Yeah, I'm sure that would. Yeah, I'm sure that would happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you think? Are you still on Ubuntu Mate?
I'm on Mint.
Okay, which is Ubuntu based, and that's close enough.
It's still Ubuntu based. You talk about comfort.
Yeah.
With Windows, it's the same thing. I have a comfort with Ubuntu. I mean, our challenge in Biddle this week was OpenSUSE. It's a beautiful system and everything, but I'm used to the apt, terminal and all that, and so I've developed a comfort level with it. And the things that are available for it, that sort of thing. I do agree with you that when you say now is the time, it would be nice to say right now is the time, but I think any time between now and the reason why I'm going to say this 2025 because that's when Windows expiration date's happening, which
That would
I
be
think
hot.
that's going to go subscription. You know, the other thing to consider too with why Ubuntu should be a better choice right now for people is I just saw a story posted on it's called HIPAA 1 and talking about the HIPAA laws and things like that and how the updates being forced now on the medical industry that they're worried about the security and the of privacy and the HIPAA laws. I just saw that today. I posted it on my Facebook business page. The problems I have with this story, though, is it kind of leads mostly toward Cortana. And Cortana, from what I understand, may be going away, but it's still what everybody, I've said this recently about, everybody thinks it's constant updates, that the machines are always chugging along. And it's in fact data scraping that's going on as well, too. With Ubuntu, you don't have to worry about that kind of thing. And see, these to me, it's a fine line when they're marketing that stuff because it needs to be marketed. And when they market it, they need to market it that it is, typically not fully private. We know that. You get on the internet, you're not 100% private, but market it, it's more secure. You choose the updates, all the positives for it without necessarily throwing the blows at the other operating system. You're showing the points that most people have figured out or can figure out with what Windows has been. So I do agree with that. Yes, it needs to start now with their marketing plan and maybe getting some machines out, basic machines, whatever. We obviously know there's already some high-end machines out there, but even if they could get a couple of those high-end machines in the marketplace. Now, System 76, we always talk about them because they're probably the most commonly known. But the example of that company, they have no reason to have to get on the Walmart shelves or whatever yet. Could it be a market for them? Absolutely. That could be one way of expanding the marketplace of their products now that they're making their way. But they need to get to the laptop development part of it. Right now they're doing it correctly. They're working on one at a time. And it's, yes, they have the distro on the laptops, but the laptops are still not manufactured by them. When they get to that point, which is another major investment, that's when I think they can get on the shelves too for a higher end system. But Dell, there's no reason in God's green earth why Dell can't get themselves on a shelf right now if they want. You put Ubuntu's on typically any Dell system, and it works. So, you've got your XPS, which is up there in the scale, closer to System 76 level. Why not do an Inspiron one? So I think that you used a very correct phrase. We're ripe for it right now. And but it's got to start with a marketing plan, not just throw it out.
Right.
Start planting.
Well, I think that might be a topic for a future show as far as the marketing of this and potential investors. I think the consumer base is there. So,
which country is Canonical based out of?
Someone said the Isle of Man.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The UK.
Yeah,
somebody mentioned that.
But we have two things that are going for us or Ubuntu or whatever. That is that one, Microsoft is making things open source, and they are making things for Linux. Which is good, and they are making huge mistakes with the updates in Windows 10.
They are making history too for the wrong reasons, I guess.
Just this past 6 months, there have been several withdrawals of major updates that made machines stop working. They wouldn't boot anymore.
But Matthias, what you just said, that's another reason why Ubuntu needs to start now, because as the rumor mills, I don't know how the rumor mills work, but I wouldn't put it past them if Microsoft decides to come out with a Linux distro, then they'd be Canonical at a punch, and I don't want
speculation there.
Yeah, I've mentioned.
I'd rather have Canonical beat them to the punch.
You want to catch it right now while Windows or Microsoft has got the gun pointed at the foot.
Yes.
On that note, I'm going to wrap up this family-friendly, the live part of this.
They've already shot 5 times now. We're going to shoot 10 more?
Okay.
Hey,
Paulie, put the gun away. Come on, there's a family here. All right, so I'm going to conclude this live broadcast. We're going to chill here afterwards. So thank everybody here who joined in. You can catch me on the next one. Again, if you need to reach me to sponsor the next show or a show on the channel, you can now catch me on MeWe or send me an email at totalOStoday1@gmail.com. Thank you.
Sorry, I